With any horse, I do this with all horses, but I do it twice as much with a horse, with the fear that she might have at times with certain things. Today seems worse. I'm going to say, I mean, there is the factor of cold. Horses are way more likely to spook and be worried about things when they're cold, or when it's cold out. It's kind of, they feel a little frisky, right? Then when it's 90 degrees out, they're going to be a little more mellow because they're hot. So there's going to be that. I will say Wyatt was a little spooky yesterday, which is very unlike him, at nothing. So I think it's just the weather. We haven't touched our horses in a few days because it's been monsooning. So we're going to be working against a couple of those things today. But my goal is to give you the tools here, and any tools that you don't already have, to work her through this, and your future horse, because he's a lot bigger than her and can be a lot more intense when they spook. Okay, now she's had a lot more in training, right? Just with your hands-on, with her training in the past, with stuff I've done with you guys, right? So she's really ultimately had more of this, but there's this hole of being terrified of certain things, especially the tarp, that I want to help you guys overcome, so that we can A, build on that, B, I know you said she's been spooking at little things, more so lately, so I want to show you and talk to you about how to overcome that as well. Because unless she's 100% feels like you are the leader, that's going to keep happening, and it could be getting worse and worse, okay? I know in our past workings with her, there's this bouncing back and forth between her in charge and you're in charge, right? And we're trying to get that to the point where it's only you in charge, and she looks to you for guidance, okay? So that could be part of why she's spooking a little bit more, because there's just always been a little back and forth, and it's little things that you may not know that she's doing that I want to make you aware of, so that that sets you up for success. Okay, those are kind of the things I want you to think about. I wanted to start with this today because the vet's here, and I don't know how. Oh God, I don't know how. What Rebel would react. So I'm going to start with something a little lighter. That's really good. Okay, right? She's worried about it, but she still was like, okay, oh God, but what is that? Okay. The reason I stand here and I like to start by talking is because as I'm talking, I'm not just talking to you, right? You probably saw me a couple times ask her to step up, and I'm not throwing this at her face. And I'm kind of letting her be curious about it, right? I'm not forcing it on her, but I'm not just paying attention to you, I'm paying attention to her, and I'm thinking about those horses, and I'm doing 10 different things at once. But ultimately, I'm just letting her stand here and relax. As soon as you handed the rope to me, if I were to just go wild and crazy, she's standing funny? Yeah. If I were to just go wild and crazy with this thing, it would not be pretty, right? I need her to trust me. And you, of course, and really any person. She needs to know we're not going to kill her and hurt her and do crazy things. We are going to do crazy things, but not to her detriment, right? Good. So I want her to be curious. We've talked about that. I want my horses to want to check out the scary things to a point, okay? If I'm just trying to ride by them, if Wyatt, like I went to a hunt pace. They had a bunch of jumps everywhere, and they're like crazy looking jumps, right? They're not just a normal cross rails. They're crazy. And there were a few that spooked Wyatt, and as soon as he jumped in place and then I turned his nose at it, for him at this point that means it's okay. I know that it's there. I've recognized that you're afraid of it. Let's go check it out. I don't kick and force him to go up to it, but I'll ask and he'll take a step and I release, right? And then once he loses his attention over here at something, that means he's not as worried about it. So I ask again, and he might take 2 steps. Eventually he touches it. I turn him away that's his release, right? I want them to be curious. They can be slightly spooky, but it can't be at every little thing. Like if she were to spook at that blanket hanging behind you, you know, there's things that horses will find to spook at just to get a release sometimes. And I know we've talked about that too. So anyways, I'm just going to start with this away from it. So think of body language. What is my body language doing? Any different than what it was doing a moment ago? You're not directing that towards her at all. Correct, right? Perfect. That's a perfect answer. So I'm not waving it at her. I'm still talking, honestly. I'm just hanging out, right? So I'm keeping pressure here because she's pulled on it. She's created this pressure. As soon as she comes off of it, if she doesn't give herself a release, I'll give it to her. But then this also stops moving. Now the wind keeps it going, but my body language is not saying move. Just like with the whip, you know, when we desensitize with the whip, we slap it on the ground, we move it around. She leaned back a little there. There we go. We slap it on the ground and move it around, and when they stop moving, we stop moving, right? Or we stop following them. But in this case, my body language hasn't pointed, looked at her, pointed, and asked her for movement. So this should just mean I'm just doing some wild things over here. You shouldn't have to worry, okay? And because I can control this, that's going to help with her training. We do all this in the arena or in a controlled space with controlled objects first, and then we go out on the trail, and there might be a tarp laying out on the trail, not likely at Amy's place, but there could be something out there, a chair, right, that's off to the side a little ways that could spook them. I want to be able to control the situation before I go out into an uncontrolled situation. So if I can control it now, then we're going to set her up for success. So anyways, my body language hasn't changed. I'm still talking to you, and I'm just getting a little bit closer, right? And if she spooks and pulls away, I'm just going to follow her. Or right there, she didn't pull away, but she leaned back. I was ready to walk and step and walk with her. And as long as she stands still, then I'm going to stop. And if she walks up to it, great. If she jumps away from it or looks away from it, I'm going to do what I need to do. That's good. I mean, that's curious. She's probably shaking as much as I am because I'm cold, but she's scared. And she's just like ready to leave town, right? I want her to understand that leaving town's not an option because she can overcome this fear. Yeah. Good girl. Now, good girl. Now, before I pick this up in front of her face, which I'm not going to do, I'm going to ask her to take a step back calmly. So I'm just didn't mean to do that, of course, that was my bad. I'm just gently going to ask her, hey, to back up just a little before I pick this up. Now, in a little bit, I'm going to go wild and crazy around her with it, but not directed at her, right? I'm not going to run at her with it. If I'm going to be running, it's going to be running with her because she's running away. But set yourself up for success. If this is on the ground and she's sniffing it, don't raise it, right? In front of her nose. I wouldn't have done that if her nose was on it, right? But it's in front of her. And this flag can do whatever the heck it wants. But again, you're in control of it, so you have that upper hand. Take it away. So pay attention to her body language, her eyes, what she's doing. Don't react to what she's reacting to. If she does something silly or stupid or runs away, don't react to it. So don't be like, oh, you silly horse, right? So I'm going to follow her with that. Just keep doing what you're doing until she stops and stands still, then take the pressure away. This goes for this flag, that tarp, the tarp in your bag there, and anything else that scares her. Okay. She's trying really hard. She's nervous. Once she looks at it, if if you notice, I waited until she looked at it instead of this, or not looking at it, and it's over here. She was afraid of it. I waited until she looked with 2 eyes at it, and it stops moving. So she can make the scary thing go away at this moment by looking at it at this moment. That doesn't mean we're not going to advance to it being on her and working her through that at that time. But right now, it's you look at it, it goes away, okay? This thing, or tarp, whatever it is, can touch her and she can still live. Okay, she'll still live through it, I promise. But right now, she can get it to go away by looking at it. Good. Now, another thing you can do, what's that? Yeah, another thing you can do that's on my desensitizing guide is ask her to follow it, right? Follow it and touch it. Good girl. And we're gonna, don't eat it, but it's okay if she wants to. That means she's not all that afraid of it if she's going to eat it. Now, she could grab it and pull on it and scare the living heck out of herself, but that's her own problem, right? I'm going to try not to let her grab it at the moment because I think that she would do that, or she'd pick it up and scare herself. Good girl. So I'm going to take it all the way away, so take pressure away. Come back over here. Body language is relaxed, right? So your body language has to mimic mine, has to be relaxed. Now I'm just going to flap it, just like the whip. I'm just going to get closer to her. Once she shows me that she's looking at it or relaxed, I'll stop flapping it. She can come up to it if she wants. If not, there's no consequence if she doesn't come up to it. I'm just going to flap it again. That's already better. She's not snorting as much. I'm going to come to this side, which is a new eye, new brain, right? New side. Over here, I'm just going to stand here. Pressure. So she added the pressure to the halter. Keep that in mind. If she adds that, I'm not going to release until she comes forward, even with her head. There. When she comes forward, it stops. Okay, this goes for all things. Follow her. She's trying. Right here, I haven't released pressure on the halter until there. Okay. Let her touch it. Good girl. Take it away. Okay. Come back over here. Let's move in a different area. Pressure. Good. Ooh-wee. Pressure. Okay, just for the sake of time, I am not going to force this upon her, but I am going to, see my hand, I'm a little cold. But I would like to touch her with it. No, you can't back away from it, okay? And don't get frustrated or mad at her. If she is scared, we have to be here to guide her. So when she looks away, she's either disinterested or trying to avoid. So I'm always going to, so right here, see how she's not looking? No, everything else is scaring her. The tarp's moving, oh my God. As soon as she looks at it, it comes away. So the tarp can only go away. I know on the ground it's going to be different, but just on this part, the tarp can only go away if she looks at it. 2 eyes. That was good. All right. Good. Now I just casually reached right up and pet her with it. She's fine. She's not thrilled. I don't need her help, so if she's trying to help me by, playing with the stick, I don't need that. Girl. See, all of this stuff, All of this stuff I do day 1, day 2, day 3, right? Before I even ever put a saddle on them. They should become okay with all of these things and tarps. And when I mean tarp, like on their back, I'm like covering their whole head with the tarp all over, just like that picture I sent you. Like, that's my goal. I need to do that with Wyatt one day. But that doesn't mean that they can't then become afraid of things later. But this, in my opinion, should not be their reaction. It should be a lot less than, like, this flag on her back, she's trying to like move away from at times, right? That shouldn't be her reaction. When I take it away, I do all of these things when I first work horses, where I rub the, like with the saddle pad. We talked about, you throw the saddle pad on and you take it away, and you throw it on, right? Take it away. And then eventually you let it drop to the ground, because I want my horse to be okay. What if I drop my saddle accidentally or something happens and I have to drop it? I don't want them to spook at that. So saddle pad, all kinds of things. So those are just more things that you can play with to get her more comfortable. Now this, she should be okay with all these things. Right there, she stopped. She didn't pull, so I'm going to walk away from it just because they have stuff going on over there. That's fine. Be aware of your surroundings. She's like, I'm not coming back over here. This is a scary corner. This, I know she's still a little bit worried of the flag. She's kind of okay with it on her back, not really that thrilled, but when it goes down even lower where she can't see it but she feels it, she's really worried. All of that needs to go away. I know you know that, just speaking. So I want this, if you can, you know, get a flag. It's nice because it's just an extension of your arm. Besides having the tarp and manhandling the tarp around her, I want her to be okay with this all over, even like her lower leg, like that. For her to lose her mind at that, I know it's a cold day and she's a lot worse today than some days that she's spooky, but I want her to be okay with things going all around her, through her legs, all over, under her, etc. Good. But what she can't learn is that she can run away and get away from it, right? Good. Now I'm going to touch you on this side. Just follow her. Yeah. And notice I'm not holding her here. I'll follow her. And then at times, if she backs away, I might not follow her. I might just keep tension until she continues to back away, and then I'll follow, right? But if right now, if she backed up, I'm not going to follow her yet. I'm going to let her hit the end of this lead rope, and then go with her if she doesn't come off of it. This also goes a lot for like sometimes she wants to pull the rope off the, pull back a little, right? This will help with that too. So when she sets back because she's scared, she's going to hit the end of this lead rope. Good girl. Take it away. She's going to hit the end of this lead rope like that and realize that she needs to come off of that pressure. I took the flag away because she started licking her lips. She settled down a little. Okay, so all of this you can do, right? You feel pretty good about that. I'd love to see this flag or any flag, whatever you have, plastic bag, be able to go on her legs. I'm not even going to attempt her back legs today because she's just going to move away from them. But I want her to be okay with anything, anywhere. I know you've gone on a few trail rides with her, right? One problem I've run into with some horses, actually Lainey was one of them, she hated, and I mean hated, things on her legs. Whether, I don't think it was as much here, but at my place, she couldn't stand a rope touching her leg. She lost it a couple times. She couldn't stand walking over branches that poked her in the leg. She'd lose it. So I've not known her to ever be that way, but if something else scary touched her on the legs on a trail ride, she might spook, freak out, whatever that might look like. And maybe she hasn't before, but if it's scary enough to her, she might. So the indication to me that she would is this. She doesn't like this. It's scary, it's pink, it's ugly, whatever. But if she's scared enough of this to go under her legs and she wants to move away from it, think about a branch that, I don't know, looks, yes, gets caught. Exactly, we don't need that. That's why I desensitized all these things when I first trained my horses. First train and always continue to train, right? Get her to follow this one more time. And then I'm gonna grab the tarp. But that's how I think in a progressive way, I guess. I think this scares her enough and she doesn't like it enough under her legs or under her belly to be okay with it and wants to spook and jump away, whatever that might look like. Then what else could do that? Like you said, you know, branches getting stuck, etc.